So, Ellen, thanks very much. And it's cool to be here. There's nothing I love more than talking about GreenCloud, the company that I created a couple of years ago to address the problem of energy in the data center world. So I've been writing software now for 30 years. I started off on little 8-bit machines, and I love what I do. I love creating software solutions for people. I've done lots of different things in lots of different parts of the economy. And in the last sort of 7 years, I started to notice that there was this problem in cloud computing to do with energy. And a lot of the time, the large players were saying things like, don't worry, this is solved, or there was this kind of weird acceptance in software developers just going, oh yeah, I don't need to worry about that. That's somebody else's problem. And as time went on and I learned more about what was actually going on, I got a little bit more fed up with this, what we term now as greenwashing. So this like acceptance that was going on, and then basically lies from data centers, from cloud providers that, don't worry about the energy. We've got it solved. And that led me on to creating GreenCloud, because I just wasn't happy to accept that as a solution. I think the other thing to realize is that with data centers, as they are at the moment, and Ellen has touched on this, the model was one that was established back in the 1950s and 60s with IBM. So basically get a building, fill it full of compute power, and then sell it. And I actually started work with IBM, and I saw the end of the mainframe era. And when I saw cloud coming back in, I just felt this is just mainframe being rebadged and sold on again. I didn't actually think it was fit for purpose for the upcoming economy that we have that's built on carbonless-based energy sources. So going to my next screen, I'm not going to talk too much about this because we've actually gone into a fair bit of detail on other people's presentations, but we've discussed e-waste and how we really are just grabbing the next new phone. And I don't know about you, but I was lucky enough to get a new phone this year through a contract change. So I'm kind of hypocritical saying this in a bit of a way, but I didn't demonstrably see a difference in my new phone from the old one that I'd had in 2020. Yet I know as a software developer that technologically that phone is far superior. The reason I'm mentioning this is that there's a gap between, and it's growing, between what we need from our devices and what we actually get. I guess going on to the energy, and I'm going to try and do a little demo here. It's for the next slide. I'm going to hold my phone up to the camera. You're going to have to look quite carefully at that to see what I'm talking about. But data centers are using huge amounts of energy, and it is growing. Ellen has already shared quite a lot of information about this, but it's astonishing this kind of disconnect that's going on from just accepting that, it's okay for me to watch Netflix at 4K, surely. But actually, there is a real problem with that and the energy that's required to give you that experience. I guess also, I've heard stories of things like power purchase agreements, which are contracts that data centers put in place, and renewable energy contracts, these two tools for supplying energy to their data centers. And really, they're a sticky plaster over a really difficult problem that's not fit for purpose. The final bit I want to talk about is cost. And this is something that as a software developer, you really learn about as you create solutions that come under demand. And what happens from the software developer experience is you start creating a solution in GCP, Google's cloud, or AWS, Amazon's cloud. And it's great. You get access to all these services. You create a really cool solution. It can be deployed all around the world. You have massive resiliency. And then as that service starts to get used, the costs increase. And it's very difficult to actually keep track of the costs and where and how they're being escalated. This has led to a new trend in software and development world that people go back to on-prem solutions. So they're actually coming out of the cloud to be able to get a grasp on their costs. So that's the kind of situation that I was up against when I was thinking about, this isn't good for the planet. And so I thought, well, how can we flip this? How can we create something that's fit for the future and something that is far better for the planet? I touched upon this on the previous slide, but compute power is now exceeded what I think most people actually need. And what this has created is fantastic devices that actually have residual resource that we can make use of. Energy, and this is the bit where I'm going to hold my phone up to the screen, so you might need to look quite closely, but what I'm showing here is my house, okay? And we've made an investment to put solar on the house, and we're actually not pulling any energy from the grid at the moment. That's actually just us off grid, and I can tell you that this computer is powered directly from solar energy. I think that's really cool, okay? And I'm not alone in that. There's 3.2 million properties, residential properties in the UK that are in a similar situation, and that is growing with the adoption of solar and battery storage. Final part is connectivity. And it occurred to me this morning when I was looking through this presentation, when was the last time that you hung around waiting for something to download like you did in the old days where it took ages? Most systems these days were really well connected. You know, the speed that we have of connectivity is huge. Pull these three things together and you've got a renewably sourced compute solution, and that's what GreenCloud is. It's about marrying together all of these thoughts that I had and then actually creating a service that provides a really low carbon compute solution. So how does that work? Well, we'll split into three parts. You've got device owners, and these are people who can sign up to GreenCloud, and it's kind of like the Airbnb of computing. You rent your devices out to us, we make use of them. You add your devices into the account, and then we're able to actually give those devices workloads, compute tasks, and they perform them and give the result back to people that need that data processing or whatever action it is that they need to do. The middle part is the clever bit. That's the dispatcher, which is the core technology of GreenCloud. I'm not going to go into too much detail because it is lunchtime and I don't have a huge amount of time left. But that manages all of the workload. The cool part about the dispatcher is it means that nobody really has a clue of what's going on apart from GreenCloud. This is a really cool security aspect of GreenCloud. The final part is kind of obvious. This is the demand part. So this is what actually drives the need for the services within GreenCloud. So that's software developers and businesses who need to do things and process things. So I hope that's given you an overview of what GreenCloud is and how it works. It's quite innovative. It's a new way of doing things. But I think it's a way of doing things that's fit for the future. And actually, it really makes sense for people to adopt. And I've done the classic thing that I always do, where I forget to mention that actually those people that add those devices in, you'll get paid for the workloads that you undertake. So every month you get money in your bank account as a passive form of income. And I think that's brilliant. As a company, the traction and validation that we've had so far, you know, we've made some really big savings on compute power for the customers that are with us. We have early growth. We have a new office that we're moving to. We've got a patent in place, early funding, and we're now looking to actually actively grow our customer base. So if you're finding this interesting and it's something you think, wow, that's really cool, please get in touch because I'd love to hear from you and get you on GreenCloud.